Ring Walk Danny here in Las Vegas with Mickey Bay. How you doing, champ, first and foremost?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. Just sitting here working.
Appreciate you having me. Last saw you in the ring in December. Very controversial loss to George Kambosos where...
After 3.5 years
Right,
off.
exactly. Now, most of the media, a lot of fans thought you had won the fight.
Yeah.
Just break down your performance, assess us, now looking back at it 6-7 months later.
Honestly, it was crazy because I had to just get in the ring to see if I could still box. That's how long it's been. Because it's a difference in being in the gym. Like, I just snapped right into it. I trained about maybe 7 weeks or so before it. But it was kind of weird because I haven't been in the ring in so long that next thing you know, I'm walking down the aisle at Madison Square Garden against a kid that's #1 in the world that's undefeated. But when I was in there, it was crazy because I know if I'd have had a tune-up, it would have been a whole nother story. But with that being said, I still felt good. Like, I know if I wanted to, I can compete and still win at a high level. But sometimes you gotta listen. You gotta listen to God, man. Devin Haney called me up and brought me in as his trainer. So, I mean, if you don't listen to that, and that's something that we talked about for years, even when he was a kid, about me training him. So when he called me, he brought me in, and we clicked. And Floyd Sr., who was both of our teacher, he got older, and it's kind of harder for him to keep up. He's not really in the gym much, so they wanted to keep the same teachings alive. So when they brought me in and we clicked, I mean, that was it from there, and I started working with Darren Cunningham. So now that's my first priority is Devin Haney, Darren Cunningham.
So you said that's been something that's been talked about for years. I was gonna ask how did that come about? Because obviously, you had that Mayweather school of boxing, right? Working with Senior, working with Roger. Being under that promotional company for so long, how exactly did that come about and come to fruition?
Devin, I know him when he first started boxing. He was real little, like 7-8 years old. So I always kept an eye on him, and here and there we'd mess around a little bit. But every once in a while, I always say, like, when I get older, you're gonna be my trainer. Okay. He'd say it here and there. I knew I can make a good trainer and be a good trainer one day, but I never really knew if I wanted to. I didn't know if when I'm finished or if I still want to be around the game on that level every day. But I'm the kind of person, I love helping people, and I'm humble enough to put somebody else before me. So it's enjoyable, but it came together. I was actually in Arizona before the pandemic hit. Me and my brother was gonna promote a boxing show because our friend got a gym out there. We're gonna do an outdoor show. And it's crazy because I was just talking about Devin the day before, and I was already speaking about like working with him and this and that. Next thing you know, literally the next day.
And he was too.
Like, honestly, I'm like, man, do these walls got ears or something? Because the next day, Devin's dad, Bill, had somebody contact my brother because I had changed my phone number. And he said, tell Mickey to call me. So when I called him, he was like, what's up? Like, what you doing? Like, me and Dad, we want you to come in and train him. We want you to train him. So he like, when can you get here? So I'm like, whenever y'all want to start. How soon do y'all want to start? He said, as soon as you get here. So when I'm about work, I'm about work. I literally flew in the next morning, and we got to work that day in his garage because it was a pandemic.
Right.
So I'm fully. When I go to work, I don't do nothing else really outside of I don't have any like bad habits at all. So usually what I do is I'm working on my passions all day, every day. If I'm not with family, I'm working on my passions. So when they called me, I was there the next morning. They didn't even think that I was really there, but I'm like, no, I'm back in Vegas. So we met up and we worked, and it clicked like that. It just clicked, and we've been working ever since.
Now you spoke on, getting that work in during the pandemic. We saw footage of, like you just mentioned, you in Devin's garage. We saw footage of you and Darren in the living room.
Oh yeah.
Doing a little midwork. How is it that fighters like Darren and Devin, not just during this pandemic, but just in general, are able to, you know, have that different level of training, are able to go that step further.
Right, a step further. It's a mental thing. It's a mental thing, and I think they both want to be the best. Like, and Darren, man, that's somebody that people gonna hear about real soon, man. Nobody at 122 would beat him. But you know, that's a whole another thing that we'll show, you know, in the near future. But I think that both of them, they eat and sleep boxing. And by them being best friends, it's like a friendly competition, sort of like.
So, I mean, I've been around them like in camp, you know, maybe about a year and a half now. And from what I've seen, it's a different level of discipline in the gym and outside of the gym as well. You know, I've been with them, you know, in personal settings to where nothing to do with boxing, and it's still very disciplined. You know, they watch what they eat, they watch who they have around them. How much easier as a trainer is that on you to have fighters that are built like that?
Honestly, you saying that is the most important thing, is the outside of the ring. And it's important for me because I saw them with guys, they can't keep up with them.
Right.
So by me being young and still being active, I don't have bad habits. So if they want to work, I told them they can call me at 1 in the morning. I'm gonna get out of the bed, and they done that.
I mean, I've been in the gym with you and Darren at 1 in the morning, right?
So I told them I'm fully committed. So just give me an hour or two, because you know I might be out getting something to eat.
Right.
Just give me at least 2 hours, and if you want to work, it can be 3 in the morning. I get out of the bed and work. So.
Right.
I think that's the most important thing. You do have to watch who you got around you, what you eat, you know, they still young guys, so you know you can have your fun, but nothing detrimental. You don't need to be drinking, smoking, none of that kind of stuff. You know, they like to play the video game and just simple stuff, watch TV, train. They like to go on vacations.
You know, people forget, you know, especially with like Devin, right? Being a world champion, making a lot of noise right now. People forget they still young.
He's a kid.
He's 21. You know, Darren is what, 20? I think just turned 23.
Yeah.
So they're still young men. You know. That being said, with how impressive Darren has looked, how impressive Devin has looked, does it give you any sort of comfort knowing that they haven't even grown into their full man strength?
Man, I tell them all of the time. This is what I always tell them. I said, no offense, but y'all still kids. Y'all don't even know it like that. Y'all got 3-4 levels to go. Like, people looking at Devin from his last fight, he grew and he's hitting harder and got stronger since then. Every few weeks, Devin got stronger. He's literally a kid still. Like, he just like a man child, but he got so many levels to go.
Right.
And I'm feeling more intense pressure on my shoulders. I literally had to start lifting weights now because I'm kind of, you know, my weight. He weighed, you know, I'm
what you fought at,
my weight class.
Yeah.
So I had to start lifting weights because I'm like, man, them punches getting harder.
Right.
So I got to literally kind of lift weights now to make sure I'm on point for them, because I got to make sure I won't be outworked as a trainer. I got to give them all I got. I won't be outworked.
Speaking on Darren, you brought up how nobody at 122 is really fucking with him. Just want your thoughts. You know, tomorrow night we have a vacant title fight between Angelo Leo and Tremaine Williams after Steve Foden tested positive for COVID-19. Just from what your eye has seen, how do you see him match up against fighters of those names, against the Steph Fultons, against the Angelo Leos, the Tremaine Williams of the world?
I actually like Fulton. You know, that's one of my favorite young fighters that I like in the game. I would like to see Darren fight the winner of the Angelo fight, honestly, like, because, you know, they won't probably fight again until maybe the beginning of the year.
Right.
Darren to have a few more fights in by then. And if you know what, that dude is a sleeper that he's fighting.
Tremaine Williams?
I seen him.
Oh, absolutely.
That kid can fight. Nobody knows him, but believe me, if he's in top shape, I would probably get him the edge, or maybe a 50-50 shot.
Well, you know, he was already on the card. He was already on the card. Yup.
Oh, man.
He was already on the card. And actually, with Showtime released a statement saying that what they're doing, if they don't have a fighter in that weight class that's, you know, able to fill in for a title fight that's in the rankings, so they're trying to have him on the undercard. But if not, they're paying fighters to stay ready for a call.
In case somebody fails.
Yep, even if they're not on the card, they're paying fighters to stay ready.
Oh, good. That makes sense.
You know, so thankfully, you know, we'll still be able to see that fight tomorrow night. Now, you know, moving on to Devin, right? Very active. We saw him 4 times last year. We saw him in January, saw him in May, saw him in September, and then 6 weeks later again in November. You know, obviously you haven't worked a fight with him yet, but what are your thoughts on what you have seen from his fights, you know, just last year alone?
Those were good fights, but I see that Devin he's grown a lot because Devin is real. He's a perfectionist. Like even when me and him work, if we do a move and he doesn't like the way that it feels or that he did it, it's times we went 10, 20 minutes to make one move perfect. Even though it might be perfect to me, if it didn't feel perfect to him, we'd do it for 10 minutes. And that's the difference with Devin. Like he got that same Michael Jordan mentality. Me and him go to work, and sometimes we got a competition, kind of a friendly, to say who can go harder and faster. So he sometimes play with me like, Mick, I know you're not getting tired or slowing down, but then on the flip side, I do that. Like, come on, like pick it up. So that's the good thing is that I'm able to keep up because, to be honest, it's not. I gotta literally be in shape. Like I had to start back running and everything because if Devin want to go to that next level and work, he really want to work. Sometimes we might be doing something for an hour or for 45 minutes. So
right.
I had to start getting on the machines and making sure that I get my cardio up.
Now, there's been a lot of talks of Devin possibly fighting Yuriorkis Gamboa next, who we saw give Tank, you know, a hell of a fight back in December. A lot of people thought that was going to be easy pickings. And one-legged Gamboa, you know, Tank didn't get him out of there till the last round of the fight. How can you see? I mean, can you tell us, is that accurate? That fight possibly being next for Devin? How soon? You know, things like that.
As of now, I think it's pretty much should be a done deal. We know that Gamboa is a warrior, so I don't expect for him to back out. A lot of guys backed out.
Right.
You know, we had 3 or 4 different opponents with Devin, but I'm sure Gamboa would take it, and it should be by October at the latest.
Okay.
It should be by October at the latest.
Perfect.
That's not a. Everybody keeps saying, man, that's a live dog. You got a gold medal.
Absolutely.
Ex-world champion that's fighting you. Very young man at 21, like
absolutely,
that's like a big step up. Like that's a huge step.
There was a lot of criticism on Tank for taking that fight until people saw the fight.
What happened? Yeah.
That being said, should Devin be able to make easier work of Gamboa? What would that say? What would that say about Devin? Because you know a lot of people think that the super fight for him is against Gervonta Davis.
It is. Yeah. It'll say a lot, especially because his leg would be. I think whatever was wrong with him, he got surgery, had time to heal.
Gamboa has came out and said that he's 100% now. He's back training. His leg is fine. So,
one thing that we understand is we don't take away from another fighter. We want the biggest fight. Like if Devin, I think Tank can beat everybody else. The only guy that I see beating him is Devin. That's the only guy I think that I know can beat him. I see him beating Lomachenko. If Gervonta is in top shape, I think he could beat him, Teofimo, and all of those guys. That's what fights you want. But we not bullies. We don't have to take away from Tank to say that we think Devin is the better man and he can win. That's what makes a super fight, like Thomas Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard. It was a thing to where it was probably 50-50. We're sure that some people would think that Tank can win and some people would think Devin can win. Ain't that the kind of fight that you want to see?
No, absolutely.
You don't want to see a so-called super fight where it's leaning 80-90% one way. No, we want it. We want most people, we want half to say that Tank will win, half to say that Devin will win.
Right.
To me, that's one of the biggest fights in boxing.
Now, a lot of people in the boxing game see it that way, see that matchup. But I think, you know, outside the ring at least, a lot of people in the culture, you know, they're a lot more familiar with Tank, you know, than they are Devin. What do you think needs to happen for Devin? You know, granted, his name is definitely out there, but to get it to that level to where, you know,
it's a super fight.
Right, it's a super fight. You got all the celebrities in and things like that.
Really, the schedule you said he had last year, if he does that now, the whole world will be, because now if Devin's busy, he got better. He's getting older, stronger. The guys that Devin just fought that went the distance with him, he'll stop all of them now. So I think that's going to be a huge difference, that Devin going to be putting people out. You know, people love knockouts.
Right.
As good as they like, as much as people like to see skill, Devin is finna like run through guys now. Like, you know, he got a lot stronger and he's hitting harder. If they keep Devin busy, him and Lomachenko, him and Tank, fights like that would be the top biggest fights in the top 3 to 4 fights in boxing.
You know, you just because you brought up him being busy, his performance in November, his last fight, his first title defense actually, was criticized a bit because it went the distance, not knowing of his shoulder injury, you know, early in the fight. That being said, though, now that he's working with you, would you ever encourage a 6-week turnaround like that? Because, I mean, it was literally 6 weeks and a day between his September fight at the Garden.
Maybe not 6 weeks, maybe 2 months, maybe 2 to 3 months, 3 months.
3 months.
I love from the fight every 3 months.
3 months,
that
get
can
the
make
4
fights.
fights. Yep.
Yeah, every 3 months, not one month. Nah, that's fast. But I'll say every 3 months, Dad would be the hottest fighter in the world.
Now, we spoke on Tank, but you brought up Lomachenko and Teofimo. It seems like their fight fell apart over money. You know, I think Top Rank was giving Lomachenko 3.5 and Teo 1.2, and Teofimo's like, that's nowhere near.
Right.
So, you know, after the Gamboa fight, a lot of people would love to see, you know, I mean, Devin and Teofimo in the boxing would be big, but Devin and Lomachenko to me would be a lot bigger because there's still debate on who is a WBC champion, right? And the way I see it, a champion can win or lose his title.
Right.
Or I should say defend or lose his title. So Lomachenko holding that franchise status that the WBC for whatever reason created.
Right.
Win or lose, you're not losing that status. So to me, Devin is the WBC champion of the world. But, you know, Lomachenko having that name, do you think after the Gamboa fight that'd be a doable fight?
We want it. As long as it could be an audience. Devin wanted to fight early this year. We was actually training for him. So when people say, Devin really wanted these fights, we was literally training for him. Then we trained for Luke, and even Fortuna. None of those fights happened. Gamboa is the best available opponent, but to me, I know Devin could beat Lomachenko, and that's one of I love watching Lomachenko fight. So, but I know that Devin can beat him. But before, I might have said I don't know yet. But when I start working with him and I saw him, I see him getting better and better. I'm like, it'll be a breeze. He beat him hands down.
Now, see, it seems like Luke may be fighting Ryan Garcia next. Somebody Devin is familiar with. You say you gotta see it to believe it.
Because I knew somehow Teofimo and Lomachenko was gonna be. See, a lot of these guys say it, but they know sometimes it's not even the money. You might, but to me, Teofimo strike me as a guy with a lot of heart. With Ryan, I don't see the same dog that I see even with him and Teofimo. I like Ryan, you know, he's a good young fighter, but I don't see him at that level as even Teofimo and them yet. I think and down the line, even his trainer said it that he needed to get like a couple years or some more fights.
Couple fights, right.
Yeah, I think they should let him develop so, you know, him and Devin can be a super fight. Now, it won't even be a contest right now. I mean, I'm just being brutally honest.
With Ryan
that
and
wouldn't
Devin?
go past 6 rounds.
Devin and Ryan?
I promise you, yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people been kind of big on Ryan because he's gotten a lot of opponents, like, for example, Fonseca in his last fight got him out of there with the first round. And, you know, people compared it to fighters like Tevin Farmer, fighters like Gervonta Davis that have been in the ring with Fonseca before and didn't do what he did. Do you still see, I mean, you obviously still see flaws in his game even with performances like that, right? Because for you to say that
I never even seen him fight before. I just seen like clips and highlights, and I see things like, to me, you couldn't put him in there with Devin or Tank. Like Tank, I would bet either one of them fights a knockout. And it's not knocking Ryan. I'm just saying I don't think he's developed yet.
Okay.
I don't know how old he is, but I'm sure he's super young. Like
I want to say he's actually
20,
older than
21.
Devin.
Yeah, but even if he's 20, I think in a couple years, I could see Ryan being like, everybody don't catch fire early. Sometimes you could try to catch up with another guy and then get beat. You can, like, look at when the guy beat Lomachenko, Salido. He had, 12, 13 losses. But it's a whole nother ball game than that Olympic stuff. You got hit to the body, you got hit on the hip, you got pushed around. It's different. Like, I don't think Ryan is ready for nobody like Tank or Devin. Even though it'd be big fights, it'd be bigger in a year or two when you actually can see, like, okay, now it'd kind of be like, I don't think he really ready for them like at all.
Now that you're working with Devin, have you ever seen any of his fights against Ryan in the amateurs? Because they fought 6 times in the amateurs and split. Have you seen any of those fights?
I think I've seen highlights.
Okay.
Like, I never saw the whole fight, but Devin is a whole other animal. Like, believe me, from November to now, Devin is punching so much hard. Like I told you, I had to start lifting weights. I never even lift weights before.
So his shoulder injury is 100%.
Oh, it got better. It got stronger.
Stronger,
like
okay.
Yeah, like literally, I had to start. Like, I got to start lifting weights now because the impact and stuff like that. He hits a lot harder than people think.
Now, lastly, I just want to ask you. You know, it's one of those things, believe it when I see it, especially with this pandemic, but it seems like Errol Spence and Danny Garcia is official. They both been on social media today, sometime in November, saying Fox pay-per-view. First of all, thoughts on the matchup, but especially since it'll be Errol's first fight since his car accident last year. You know, do you think, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, I just hope Earl is really okay. Like, sometimes us fighters, we think we so much of dogs that we used to mentally getting, like, fighting through things. I'm just hoping that his body is really okay. That's first and foremost. I'm hoping that he really should be fighting health-wise. But if he's even 80-90% of what he was, then I don't see nobody beating him. Like, the only guy that I can see that maybe have a chance is Terrence. You know, Porter did an excellent job against him. I think that's worthy of a rematch because it was a good fight. It was close. But I'd love to see Terrence versus Earl Spence.
What do you think of Earl's versatility? We saw him against Mikey, where he showed, hey, I can outbox the smaller but faster fighter. And then we saw him against Sean, where he's like, I can dig deep and be a dog and go toe to toe.
Man, Earl is he can do a lot of things. He just knows what he can do best. If he can win a certain way, then he just gonna run through you like knife through butter. But it's so many good fights in that way. Like, I would maybe like to even see Sean Porter versus Mikey Garcia.
You think Mikey needs
That'd
to?
be a good fight.
You think he should stay at 47? Because even against Jesse Vargas, it took him a while to.
Yeah, against the right opponents. You know, Earl just a freak of a 147.
Right.
He's huge. You know, but I would like to see him in with like a Danny Garcia, Mike, or maybe like Sean Porter. That'd be a good fight. You got the boxer versus the pressure fighter.
Right.
You know, that'd be a good way to gauge it. Or even a guy like Ugas. You know, that'd
a lot of people felt he beat Sean Porter last year.
It was a good fight. So Ugas is a good measuring stick to anybody because he's capable of winning. But, you know, I would like to see Mikey in with a guy like Ugas or like a Danny Garcia or something like that if Danny doesn't fight Earl.
I can't end this interview without asking you about Lorenzo Truck Simpson. He's out here in Vegas, been working with you. What are your thoughts? We saw him spar Dennis Douglas. He's been sparring. What are your thoughts on Truck? I don't want to misspeak, but I believe he's 8-0, 5 knockouts.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Lorenzo Truck Simpson, an up and coming prospect?
He's a beast. He's gonna be such a problem. Like, I'm talking about, he remind me of. I don't like to compare fighters and say that, but he's just something about him remind me of Earl Spence.
Okay.
As far as like, he can box, but he'll pressure you. and he's so strong. Like, this dude just turned 20.
Right.
To me, like a LeBron James or Zion Williamson in boxing, he doesn't even know his strength. Like, he would think that he tapping the guy, and they'd tell me when they get out, they was ready to take a knee. Like, he's so strong that it's scary. Like, he gonna be such an animal that people not really hip to him yet all the way, but he one of my top 3 to 5 young fighters in boxing. I put him right. When you mention guys like Ryan and all of them, his name I put him over Ryan. This is no offense to Ryan, man. I don't want people to think that I'm knocking him because I do like Ryan. I just think it's going to take Ryan more time. I think that in 2-3 years, Ryan is going to be an animal. But now, Truck, man, that dude is a freak. Like, I put him up there with these guys that we talking about. Like, he remind me like a young Marvin Hagler.
You speaking so highly on Truck, really quick. Who is somebody that right now, today, you would match him up against and say that's a 50-50 fight?
Okay, that's a good question. What's that one guy that fought? Even though I think he'd beat him, but this would probably be a good test. Somebody like, what's the one guy that fought Lubin? I think he took him to. Did he take him to distance? I don't know if his name Gallimore or.
No, Nate Gallimore. Nate Gallimore out of Chicago. He also fought J-Rock and went the distance.
Chicago from your town. Somebody like that.
Okay.
Somebody like him, that's the only guy I could think of.
Yeah, he beat Nate Gallimore actually a couple years ago. Beat Jason Rosario, the current unified world champion. Beat him at Sam's Town. Beat him at Sam's Town. Lost to J-Rock, but went the distance. Went the distance with Lubin. So I agree. Man, I agree.
He could be a champion next year. He just needed some fights.
Okay.
I think that he could beat some champions now.
Damn, you got me excited. That's a hell of a fight right there. Yeah.
Oh, him and that guy?
Yeah, him and Gallimore would be a phenomenal fight.
Truck not backing down. Right. That dude is like, man, that dude ain't backing. He's a freak. I always got to remember, with guys like Devin and Truck, I always got to remember, man, these cats are still like kids.
Right, absolutely. I mean, more so Truck, he can't even go buy him a drink, you know? He's 20 years old.
Yeah, so
just turned 20. So, man, Mickey, I really appreciate your time, man. It's been great talking.
Man.
Really appreciate everything, champ.
Y'all tune in, man, to the Boxing Voice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, y'all gonna see a lot more interviews.
Yeah, give your social media so people can keep up with your work.
Yeah, I got a new one. Mickey Bay Eternal.
Mickey Bay Eternal.
Yeah, maybe we'll put it up on there.
We'll throw it in the comments
so y'all
for sure.
Can link. Yeah, but I got a new one now, so make sure y'all keep up.
Definitely. Thank you very much, champ.
Oh, for sure.
You have to like, subscribe, and share. As always, if you want to support us to the next level, head over to the patreon.com/ThaBoxingVoice. We have tons of exclusive from Border Wars, Entitled, betting shows, the list goes on and on and on. But in addition to that, if you guys have questions for fighters, trainers, and promoters, this is where you can submit them. We will run out, get these questions answered, and put it back on the show just for you guys. Appreciate it. Peace.